Hey, what's going on, guys? Ronnie here with Osborn, and today we're going to be going over the V-Groove long handle scratch brush. Now, these are designed specifically for use in hard to reach areas, right? And they call it the V-Groove because these brushes, unlike a traditional brush, are shaped like a V. So you get more of a precise, a more centered cleaning area opposed to a regular brush like this. So I'm gonna go ahead, I got a few pieces back here. I'm gonna do some demonstrations and show exactly how this V-Groove long handle scratch brush will come in handy. All right, so right here I got some 4-inch pipe. These flanges are welded pretty tight to each other. So, I mean, this is a scenario where this wire wheel, 4.5-inch angle grinder, is not gonna fit down in there to clean that surface area. And you can only imagine all the things you might run into out there where that's not gonna fit. So what's the next best thing? The V-handle long scratch brush. This is gonna fit perfectly in those tight areas where the 4.5-inch angle grinder is not gonna fit. Now, be careful when you're cleaning your areas, because when you're working on steel, you wanna use a steel brush. And when you're working on stainless, you wanna use a stainless brush. So this right here is steel, it's carbon steel, so we're gonna use the carbon steel V-Groove handle scratch brush. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start cleaning this surface area right here. So I just want you to get zoomed in there, see how dirty that is, right? And so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start cleaning this with a brush, and it's just gonna start removing all that oxidization. And you're really gonna be able to get in there and clean it, opposed to not being able to clean it with a angle grinder. As you can see, you can tell the difference now. We got one side cleaned up with the scratch brush and one side that hasn't been cleaned up. So one thing that's really good about these Osborn long handle V scratch brushes is the length, right? Having that extra length allows you to get in deeper. It allows you to get in further in those tight spots that you're not able to get into. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up this other side as well. So as you saw, this long handle V scratch brush by Osborn, it fit perfectly in those hard to reach areas where the 4.5-inch angle grinder wouldn't fit. And as you can see, you know, come look at this, it really cleaned up that area. I mean, we could probably get even better if we kept scratching at it, but it really removed a lot of that rust and oxidization. So I got a few other pieces back here. I'm gonna demonstrate in other scenarios where these brushes are gonna be very helpful. So y'all stay tuned. All right, so another scenario would be PVC, right? Or a softer type of material. Maybe you're not working with steel, you're working with plastic or something soft, right? You don't want to use a power tool on something like this, right? So what we're gonna do here is clean up the threads. If you were to use a power angle grinder to clean up these threads with a wire wheel, you would probably mess up these threads and you wouldn't be able to thread it on. So we need to get these threads clean. So what are we gonna use? We can use one of these Osborn V-handle scratch brushes. And we use the V-handle, to me, is gonna work better on threads as well because it's more of a precise cleaning area. When you're trying to clean these threads, it's gonna get in between those threads, opposed to using a traditional hand brush. This is also made by Osborn. This is a great scratch brush, but like I said, application specific. This is not gonna do as good as a job as the V-handle scratch brush would. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start cleaning up these threads. They got some Teflon tape on them, as well as some other debris. So we're gonna use this V-handle scratch brush by Osborn to get some of that stuff off. so as you can see, that V-handle scratch brush, it got that Teflon tape off of there. It also cleaned up those threads, and now you could be ready to go. All right, so we cleaned up in a tight area with the flanges. We cleaned up on a soft material with the PVC. Another thing that you can also use this for is bolts, right? So sometimes the bolts, they'll get rusted on the threads, or they'll get paint or any type of corrosion. And you don't necessarily want to use one of these power tools on one of these bolts. One, the bolt could be old, and this power tool is really going to dull those threads. It's going to make it a lot harder for this nut to go back on there. So what do you use? You use one of these V-handle long scratch brushes by Osborn. It's going to go ahead, it's going to deburr, it's going to clean up those threads, get some of the oxidization off there, paint, anything you might have, this is going to take care of it. So let's go ahead and get this rust off of here. So as you can see, it got a lot of that oxidization off of that bolt. And now when we go to thread our nut on there, it'll go on a whole lot easier. All right, so we cleaned up in a tight spot on this steel flange. We cleaned up this soft material, this PVC, and we cleaned the threads on this bolt. One other thing I want to throw out was stainless pipe. I'm a pipe welder by trade, and I know when we're TIG welding on stainless, we don't like to clean our caps with a power brush or with a wire wheel because it puts pits in it when it's hot. That wire's spinning so fast that it kind of pits it a little bit. So we actually like to use one of these scratch brushes. So I'll grab the stainless one by Osborn, this long V scratch brush, and I have just TIG welded this, so it's hot, it needs to be cleaned up. So we'll go ahead and use this brush on here, and you can see the before and after of how it cleans up this stainless nice and clean. Show you guys the difference. So this was the scratch brush. We had just got done cleaning this hot weld, and if we rotate it a little bit, you'll see that discoloration is still hot. You know, and the only way to get that off there is with it by brushing it. So scratch brush definitely comes in handy in a lot of different situations. I mean, you can imagine all the types of places you would use one of these hand brushes. So if you guys like what you see here, go to osborn.com, check it out, man, and you'll love it.